under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
Hey, what the hell is going on, my fellow European champions? Oh my God, it feels so awesome to say that, man. It's been a long time coming. As a matter of fact, the last time that any Tottenham Hotspur fan could ever say that they are European champions, James, I was 3 years old.
Yeah, I was 3 years old too.
But
crazy.
I want to thank everybody tuning into Stateside Footy tonight. Make sure you hit your like and subscribe buttons because it's a race to 500. And as soon as we hit 500, there is going to be something special for that 500th subscriber, a shirt of your choice. That's what I do for people that subscribe to my channel. I take care of people the way that they're supposed to be taken care of, not to toot my own horn. But of course, James and I are here tonight just to kind of put a bow on today. And James, I got to be honest with you. Coming into this one, there was no nerves. As a matter of fact, not to rehash my intro, but I actually believe that we would win today for a multitude of reasons. But really, let's go back to the round of 16 against AZ Alkmaar, and that second leg when we came back to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and we actually put it on them. That's when I knew. That's when I knew. I kept my mouth shut the entire time because I didn't want to feed into the whole, Tottenham European love narrative. But that being said, it's like right when you see that and you see a desire to win, you just kind of understand that it's, I just looked at that and was like, yeah, okay, it's probably ours this year.
Yeah, I think that was probably the point that turned the corner for me because I had doubts. I had doubts in that league stage. Absolutely did I have doubts. And I was like, we're going to throw this away. Yeah. We are going to stick with the Spurs narrative and we are going to throw this away and be Spursy. But no, when back at home, European night, Thursday, we turned up that night, and that was like one of the few games this season where you can say that Spurs turned up. The win against Manchester City is another one.
Yep.
The first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final against Liverpool. The 3 times that we'd previously beaten Manchester United before tonight, we turned up. There were big games that we turned up, and when we turned up that night, that was it. I was well and truly on the trainers. this really is ours to throw away.
Carl Simpson checks in and he said, I should really go to bed. No, no sod. We are European champions. Hell yes, Carl. We are definitely European champions. And thanks for tuning in. But let's just go ahead and call this tonight what it was. This was one of the ugliest games of football I think I've seen in a long time. Usually in a final, there is an element of sexiness to the flow, but two teams who basically just said, "Hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be compact. We're going to sit back and use the counter, and that's what we're going to do." Both teams essentially did that in the first half. After Brendan Johnson got his goal, I don't want to hear it. It was a goal. It was not an own goal. It was a goal.
No, it was Brendan Johnson. It came off his toe. I've seen the replay half a dozen times. It does bounce off Luke Shaw, but it bounces off his arm for one. And as the ball is moving, it is moving towards the goal, but as Brendan Johnson falls back and he swings his leg at it, the ball changes direction ever so slightly, but it does change direction. It's Brendan Johnson's goal, and he deserved that goal tonight. I think he had a good game tonight.
After Brendan Johnson scores the goal, Ange Postecoglou said, "All right, cool. Here's the ball. Do with what you will. We're going to be more compact from you, and if you can break us down, hats off to you. But there's a good chance that you're not, because we have two of the center backs in the world right now. So best of luck to you." And then what we saw in the second half was Manchester United doing whatever they can to get the equalizer. They couldn't because, quite frankly, they just didn't have the quality to finish it off. And so what I saw was two teams essentially trying to do the exact same thing to each other, and then a referee who I don't know what his issue was, but a referee that was so quick to insert himself into the run of play that almost took away from a final. When I think back on this one, I will think of a few things, James. I will think about Brendan Johnson's goal. And then I would think about this referee who literally inserted himself into the run of play and made it more about himself than the teams actually playing a final.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it was the refereeing tonight was atrocious. And I'm not saying that because of the majority of the decisions were against Tottenham. They were against Tottenham, but they were very, very, very poor decisions in the first place. And it was, I think, I'm going to put it to you. I know what my thoughts on this is. Do you think that when Manchester United got away with it the first couple of times of going down soft, and the referee gave them a free kick, do you think then Manchester United thought, we've got this ref here, so every time a Tottenham player comes near us, we'll go down like we've been shot with a sniper rifle? That they played on that.
Yeah, I think so, right? Because you get a feel for which way a ref is going to go in the early portions of a game. You know if they're going to be more conservative, you know if they're going to be tight, or in this case, you know that if a ref is going to be a little bit more understanding of your situation.
Yeah,
you know what
favorable.
I mean? A little bit more favorable, right? This entire season, and I'm not saying there's some refereeing conspiracy against Tottenham Hotspur, but that being said, this isn't a Premier League match. This is a final, right? And the idea for a final, and by the way, you're not going to see this in the Champions League final, and I highly doubt you're going to see it in the Conference League final as well either. No. You're going to see refs that are going to allow these teams to play free-flowing football, and if there is something that is egregious, they're going to blow their whistle, and they're going to make correct calls. But for whatever reason in this one, we got shithousery.
Yeah.
and of course, we also had a ref who was at one point, wasn't he charged in some type of discrepancy 20 years ago
Yeah,
when it came to bribery or something like that? And he was
yeah,
also
match.
on the VR call. He was also a part of some VAR scandal in the Champions League. If I correct me if I'm wrong.
So it was about 19 years ago. He was charged with a group of referees for accepting bribes and basically match fixing to give favourable decisions again for certain clubs. And what he was the VAR official for the Spurs Liverpool Champions League final.
Okay.
And in the first 5 minutes, he overrid the referee and told him to award a penalty to Liverpool for an extremely contentious handball. Big up, Dermo. Was dreaming, or did we win the European League?
He said,
we did.
Yeah, did we was I dreaming? Did we win the Europa League? Spurs are champions of Europe, and Arsenal can never say that. Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was a very contentious handball.
Yeah, so the a referee that was found guilty of accepting bribery payments 20 years ago should never have been able to allowed to ref after that ever again.
Yeah.
Like once
you
allow that into your once you decide to take that kind of money and let your integrity to be bought, that should be the end of your refereeing career, point blank. Like there should be no need to have you ever reffing again, let alone at the highest levels ever again. But that being said, tonight was, that's the thing. It's like I'll think of those two things, but for me, the highlight of the match, and maybe you disagree with this, but it was Mikey Van de Ven clearing that ball off the line.
Oh, yeah.
And it was sacrificing his body to keep Spurs ahead. To me, I think that will actually go down as one of the most memorable highlights in Spurs history. We can think of a few, but in the context of a major European final, Spurs are hanging on to a 1-0 lead, and Mikey Van de Ven in the air clears it, lands on his back, protects the lead, gets up, shakes it off, and continues to have a brilliant performance. I can't put into, like, to me, that was the highlight of the game today.
Yeah,
that right there.
For me, Mickey Van de Ven was my man of the match.
Same.
It was a close. It was. I tell you what, though, if I could give 11 man of the matches, I would. I think not one player on that pitch left anything in the tank.
Yeah.
I think they all left it out there on the field.
Yeah.
And you could see that in the pure emotion at the end of that game. It was a joy to watch. It's a memory that's going to stay with me for years to come.
Yeah.
And I am incredibly proud of the team and of Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
And it's to all the naysayers and all the people that doubted him, called him names. That is probably the biggest two fingers he could put up to them,
without a doubt.
And be like, I told you. Here's some humble pie.
Yes.
Don't choke on it.
Yeah, and there's a middle finger for you too as well
Yeah,
for calling me a clown. You know, the interesting thing was it's throughout the season I questioned whether or not this team had heart. For multiple performances in the Premier League where they were at full strength and yet they were treating it like a fun like a friendly. And there were multiple moments where some players would show up, some players would not show up, and you got the impression whether A, they were playing for their coach, or B, they just didn't give a shit.
yeah,
And yet you see a performance like tonight where they played the hardest 90 of their career. And I said going into this one that to me that was the key, because a lot of outside of Sonny and outside of Christian Romero, maybe Ben Davis and Ange Postecoglou, these players have never played in a final before.
no,
And so there was going to be some nerves because you're playing on the biggest stage and under the brightest lights against a team that, yeah, you've beaten three times already this year, but this is a final. And we all know Spurs history when it comes to some of these type of things, and the term Spursy and the opportunity to bottle it on the biggest stages. And so all of that comes into play. But once the whistle blew, this team literally just scrapped for an entire 90.
yeah,
And they play, and that to me puts to bed any conversation whether or not this team actually has the wherewithal or the guts to be able to compete at a high level, because they just showed it. They just proved it. This run should put to rest any conversation about whether or not they're up for a fight.
yeah. And I do. I agree with that. I think it does show that we actually have a good team and we can grind out results. We can play different. Dermot says, question to you both: does this show Ange is a better manager than people thought he was?
Yes, yes, actually,
yeah, he does. Yeah,
because what was the narrative towards Ange Postecoglou? He's stubborn. He's stuck in his ways. He won't adjust. He's so dead set on playing Ange ball. But one of the things that showed me in the second half of the season, especially when he realized there were certain players that he couldn't trust to operate his style of game, what did he do? He went to a more pragmatic. Yeah, he changed the tactics and went to a more pragmatic defensive counter-attacking style of football that actually is not Ange Postecoglou at all. But it was also geared toward the players that he does have, because they're probably far more comfortable playing in a system like that than continuing to play, continuing to play an Ange ball style system, playing a high line. Tell me at any point tonight, were we playing a high line? The answer is absolutely no. We were playing with more of a defensive double pivot, and and literally just like, here's the ball, do what you want to do with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Ange ball is all about high. Ange ball is all about high possession ratings, multiple chances on net, and the ability to outscore your opponent 4-1. That's Ange ball in a nutshell.
High energy, constant high pressing. Defense pretty much camped on your own halfway line, and press. And I think I remember reading a quote of somebody who did an interview with Ange Postecoglou, and he says, what best describes Ange ball? And he says that I get my players to run from the moment the first whistle blows to the moment the last whistle blows. They run and don't stop running.
Yeah.
And that's Ange ball. The constant press, the constant pushing, the constant run. And I agree. In the second half of the season, we did not play Ange ball.
Yeah.
There was a few games where we played Ange ball where the game warranted us we try and play Ange ball. But in some of the other games, no, we didn't. And we certainly didn't in the second leg of the semi-final at Bodo Glimt. That was not Ange ball.
No. The second leg of the quarterfinal against Frankfurt.
Yeah, that wasn't Ange ball. So in answer to your question, Dermo, does it make him a better manager than what people thought he was? I agree, yeah, absolutely. Because he's shown that, and I think what it showed more as well in the European games for recently is that he has adapted this Spurs team, and this Spurs team is behind him. Because if
Yep.
this Spurs team wasn't behind him, they wouldn't be able to adapt to that kind of football in
Correct.
less than half a season. Because you've got to think as well, we had so many players out this season. Our injury list has been unprecedented this season,
Yeah.
and we still won a major European trophy.
Well, I also think that all the Ange outers need to at least acknowledge the fact that not only did Ange, swap his tactics, but it was his ability to recognize that certain players could not adapt in his system for the reason for the switch, and because of the switch, we're European champions. Like, you have to acknowledge it. You cannot like Ange Postecoglou, but at least you have to be honest about it and say the reason why we were able to succeed in Europe was because of a switch in tactics away from his style of football into something that's more pragmatic. All the talk about how he's bullish and how he's selfish, blah 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 blah. Well, you got exactly what you wanted, and it resulted in a trophy. So you absolutely have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, absolutely, you do. And look, I had my doubts. Through thingy, and I've even said they should sack him, but I never thought they'd sack him before the end of the season. If they are going to sack him, if they do sack him, I think if they actually fire him, I think it'd be a travesty. And I know we were talking about it briefly in final score.
And we're going to get onto it right now because I think it's an important conversation to have, because quite honestly, Ange Postecoglou has all the leverage because he did win a trophy. And I also think that one of the biggest drawbacks to it, because if you're a coach, let's say that you're Xavi or Inzaghi or your Pochettino, or name your manager, and you just saw the Tottenham Hotspur lift a European trophy. Granted, okay, fine, 21 losses across all competitions, okay, fine. Put that aside. The whole point of playing a season of football is to what? Do what? Win trophies.
To win something.
Yeah, and we just won something. And now all of a sudden you fire the guy that just won you something that you haven't won since 1984. If I'm a coach looking at this, I'm asking, like, well, wait a second. What does that mean for me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just saw this club sack a manager a week before a final, and now I just saw this club sack a manager after winning in a final.
Yeah.
What does that mean for me? And what does that say for the ambition of the club? It's not a good look, James. It is not a good look.
I agree. That is not a good look. Absolutely, 100% is not a good look. Which is why, like, I think in the final score, if they were to get rid of Ange Postecoglou, it will be like a mutual consent. But that to me, if they're going to do that, Ange is going to get one hell of a payout.
Yeah.
Because that's in my eyes, that's the only way they get him out the door without.
I think it's like a $7 million payout, because he's got it would be the $5 million that's owed for next season plus the $2 million he got in his contract for winning Europa League. So it's a $7 million payout. But that being said, I can't see that.
That's even if that's then not saying that he doesn't start thinking, well, hang on a second, I want a bonus for getting you to Champions League as well.
Correct.
Or we might not have had the greatest of season, but we didn't get relegated, and like you said, we won the European trophy. So
Yeah.
you could easily say that a payout could cost Tottenham anything up to like 10 million because he's got that kind of leverage.
Yeah, and
He's got that.
I just don't think he's the type of dude that's going to quit.
No.
I know that there's this narrative that he would just ride off in the sunset and drop his mic. It's like that's not Ange Postecoglou. Why would he quit? Why would he quit now, knowing that we have Paratici coming in to run his windows?
Yeah.
Right. And regardless if Paratici never liked him to begin with in the first place, it's Paratici's responsibility to make sure that the transfer window aligns to the strengths of his coach. And we're going into Champions League next year.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the same window. So Ange Postecoglou sitting back thinking like, listen, man, not only did I run cover for you this entire season, but I also won you a trophy. I want to stick around. I want to stick around at least for next season. Now, hey, if and I hate this. I hate this narrative that this is going to be like an Eric Ten Hag situation. It's like it's not going to be. Now, if Paratici didn't come back, I would probably agree with that narrative. But Paratici is coming back, so it's going to be something completely different. Because again, Paratici is smart enough to understand his manager and his manager's strength, and he's going to gear his window towards that. Because the last thing they want to do is have another season like this. They actually want to put their best. They want to put their best foot forward.
Yeah, and also they're going to be looking at, because Paratici is good pals with Daniel Levy. They've got to be for him to come back for Levy to have gone back to that, for somebody who's committed a crime and did what he did, and if Levy is still willing to work with him for the second time, then there must be a closeness there. There must be a good bond there.
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
So Paratici is going to be thinking business as well, and good business, and being able to do good business for the club. Because Paratici's got a good football and brain in his ears. I get the right players in. We then get into Champions League football. I get us more good players in. We're challenging for the Champions League again, and we're challenging for the Premier League again, which then equates to more money. And when I make more money for the club because the club's doing better by the players that I've signed, Daniel Levy's happy. Daniel Levy's happy. He chucks me money, and so around the positive circle goes. That is positivity building within the back of the club. I agree with Audio Artisan as well. Half the squad needs upgrading if we are going to do anything in the Champions League. Absolutely. I think there are areas in our squad that definitely need upgrading.
Yeah, I would agree to it to an extent. I think the starting 11, if Christian Romero and Betancourt stick around, and Pedro Porro, then really it's just your front line that needs upgrading. But the squad depth definitely needs upgrading. Especially at the skill position. Squad depth is something that needs to be filled with guys that have actually competed in Champions League and understand exactly what it takes.
So I want to ask Steve, just dead quick, do you think with Spurs winning the Europa League, it makes us more of an attractive prospect for some of the free transferred players who we've been linked with? Your Ryan Cherky, your Jonathan Davids. That's just to name the two. I know there's another couple who are coming out of contract, but we've been linked with.
Jonathan Ta is available. He's going to be on free. To answer your question 100%, because what do these players want? They want to compete. They want, first and foremost, they want to get paid. That's number one. But also number two, they also want to compete on the game's biggest stages. So if you're in the Champions League, that's going to be number one. Number two, they compete in the Premier League. So just by competing in the Premier League, you're competing on the game's biggest stage, because I think everybody agrees that the Premier League is the best league in the world right now. So you have that going for you as well too. Um, the problem with guys like David or Ryan Cherokee is there's going to be competition for their services with other
Yeah.
Premier League teams. I don't think that they're going to outright reject Tottenham Hotspur, but the reality is we're in an era now where you're going to have to match that ambition of a Liverpool to compete with some of these players.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that makes Tottenham Hotspur uncomfortable. But one of the things that Daniel Levy is going to have to do is he's going to have to realize that winning trophies is something that can easily, I wouldn't say easily, but can be attained if your transfer budget matches the ambition of what a European team, a consistent trophy winning European team, can do. I think that winning the Europa League definitely helps because it signals that Tottenham can win trophies.
Yeah.
That it's not just Spursy, blah blah blah. It's not that. It's even in the midst of a season like this, we can still win trophies. I actually think that means more to players because understand, James, that players talk. Players talk with other players, and there's friendships everywhere. And in the middle of the the injury crisis, yeah, I'm sure there was not a lot of good things to say of this. But now it's like when it's all said and done, it's like, yeah, look at what we were able to achieve. Look at how tight we are at this club. Yeah, you probably want to be a part of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? Do you think this makes us an attractive place? Because I still think that it comes down. I do think that it comes down to Champions League and being able to actually pay for good players.
Yeah. So I think it makes us. I do think it makes any kind of Champions League football is going to make you slightly more attractive.
Sure.
It's whether or not then the players who you're looking at, because no player is going to say, okay, I'll come to you because you've got Champions League football, if they don't believe in the project that's going to say that you're going to keep getting Champions League football. So if you're trying to hook players, you're right, the money's got to be there. It's got to be. You can't keep getting by on paying peanuts for players. It doesn't work like that. Because for whoever Daniel Levy thinks is doing well by signing somebody on a £120,000 wage, they might not then go on to become a world superstar, and the player that you could have got and been paying 200,000 a week on goes to a rival and becomes an absolute superstar. And there's one player that always stands out to me about, and he's quite modern, that Spurs were looking at, and they didn't spend the money on him. And they could have had him so much cheaper, and that was Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish was tipped to come to Spurs, and it was pretty much all a done deal as far as I was made aware. And then it got to the contract negotiation, and Daniel Levy lowballed Jack Grealish and continued to lowball Jack Grealish. And he was like, no, I'll stay where I am for now then. I was expecting a bit more. He didn't. He stayed where he had. He had another cracking season for Aston Villa, and Manchester City came calling. Yeah. I mean, he got £100 million move to Manchester City, where he went on to win numerous things. So we've got to be able to. We've got to start paying decent wages for players.
Yeah, like I'm looking at what's his ass from Sporting CP, Victor Yorkerush. Dude had a 58 goal contributing season. No, I think he had 58 goals across all competitions. And it's like, dude, that guy is £100 million player.
Yeah.
And it's like that is the type of ambition that this club should be in competition for, because that dude changes everything. But I also think that it's not just one player, but I also think the stability at the manager also is going to play a huge role into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And I think we need, and I think what the club now need to do is, okay, the end of the season comes. Let's get Sunday out of the way. Let's
yeah,
get the end of the season done. If this is going to happen, it has to happen within 2 weeks of
yeah.
that season ending.
Like
Because if
I
you
don't.
leave it, and leave it, the speculation regarding his position will basically just
Yeah,
it will say it'll sort of come to a point of the players like, what more do we need to do to prove that we're behind as manager? What more can this manager do? And then
right.
it starts sowing a seed of discord then. Because the
I
players get frustrated and the manager then gets frustrated that the same narrative is still being spun.
I heard you say, I think it was on the final score, that this Brighton match plays could potentially play a role into it, and I was like, I don't necessarily think so, but I do agree with you that this has to be decided within the first 2 weeks of the summer, following that match against Brighton. And I will just say that you can have them on a short leash, right? Like, listen, we understand the context of the season, fair enough, but you want a trophy. And that is at least rewarding of starting the 2025-2026 season, but you're going to be on a short leash. If you start the season wobbly like you started this season, where where there's no consistency, there's no flow, there's no rhythm to the season, and you're not necessarily getting the results that we think you are, we're going to let you go. Like, we'll give you the start of the season, but you're on the shortest of short leashes, where it's like 15 to 20 matches into the season. Like, if you don't hit the ground running like the way you started, and we're having the same issues of consistency as we're getting to November, that's it.
Yeah.
Because I do think in the back of my mind that keeping Gange as the path of least resistance, because I actually think this summer is actually going to be an awesome window for Spurs, and I think we're going to address a lot of the issues with this summer transfer. I really do. But that being said, again, like, if he comes in 2025, 2026 wobbly, and there's consistency issues, then I would think that at that point, Daniel Levy would have every reason to give him the sack at that point. But I also think all roads are leading to the summer of 2026 for one specific reason. And that is because I think that Daniel Levy will be around in 2026, in the summer of 2026. And I just happen to think that I think that he really wants to bring back Mauricio Pochettino. I really do.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. You could say that. And then I suppose if he lets Ange go, if Ryan Mason's still about, he brings Ryan Mason into the fold and says, look, Ryan, we're going to go out and try and get Pochettino at the end of the season. You've got the end of the season to lead the team and do with it as
state your case. Yeah, state your case. Yeah, I just think that I don't know, man. I just get this weird sense that all roads are leading back to Pochettino. He doesn't have a problem bringing back Paratici, and I also think that he didn't really want to get rid of Pochettino to begin with in the first place, and I think he's always regretted that. But that being said, when it pertains to this, like, when I think about this, it's like Ange Postecoglou, regardless of whether you like him or not, regardless of the results of this season, a Europa League trophy kind of does erase, in a weird way, it does erase some of the losses and some of the bad performances this season, because the mission was accomplished. The mission was accomplished. You won a trophy, and you won a big trophy. Like, if it was just the League Cup and he had 20 losses in the season, he's probably fired. Yeah. Probably.
More than likely have been fired before now.
But look at the timing of this, right? Because look, when does the League Cup come to an end? Mid-season.
On Sunday.
Yeah, mid-season, the League
Yeah.
Cup, the Carabao Cup.
The League Cup. Oh, the
it-
Carabao Cup is finals played in February.
February, right? You still have March, April, and May, so you still have 3 more months of the season,
Yeah.
where a lot of people will forget the cup and just focus on the lack of success in the season, and that will be your lasting memory. But
Yeah.
because because it's a Europa League, it just happened, and the season's ending. So the only thing
Yeah.
that the lasting memory is Ange Postecoglou hoisting the trophy with his teammates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of leverage that Ange Postecoglou can use in order to retain
Yeah.
his position, and I think it actually just might be the right call.
I mean, I like I said at the top of the show, I would love Ange to stay. I think I do. I like his brand of attacking football. I like it when we play attacking football, but of course you're gonna like it when you play attacking football. Everybody wants to see your team score goals.
What's the? Ooh, I got a great question for you. I do got a great question. So now that we have seen Ange Postecoglou use two different types of systems this year, the Ange ball system in which we started the season, and then this pragmatic counterattacking style. Does he actually go into next season playing the style that we're seeing right now, where we're ultra defensive counterattacking team? You know what I mean? Like, does he just because it seems to fit the players well?
Yeah, I can see it fits the players well, but I suppose it all ties into the Paratici coming back.
Right.
If Paratici looks at the team and says, "Okay, well we've got," because the team in the squad, we've got the players to have the ability to play Ange ball. We showed that at the very start of this season.
Correct.
When our first 11 was fully fit, we were playing Ange ball, and we were playing it well, and we were winning games, and we were up there in the top four. I mean, first 10 games at season, we were the top leading goal scorer in the league.
Yep.
And with 5 games to play, there was teams inside the top 10 that had still not scored as much as us. It just so happened, or didn't have a better goal difference than us. I should say, not scored more than us, but had a better goal difference than us. I mean, we were the lowest placed team with a positive goal difference. It's crazy. We shouldn't be where we were in the league. The league is a complete anomaly.
Correct.
But then you take into consideration that then once the injuries started, and when they really kicked in, and then once the starting 11 was decimated, and then the squad players were getting injuries. It's no wonder we finished where we finished. But you think about having a fully fit squad, as well as adding 2 or 3 world-class players to that squad who
like in that January, February window right there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then look at what we probably could have kicked on, and then we really could have achieved something. We could have probably finished in the top 10 in the league. Now you look at this summer coming up, where you've got Paratici, who's going to want to bring in top quality players for Ange, who will be able to play Ange ball, and you dot them around. You maybe get someone to be Sonny's direct replacement. You maybe look at someone who's going to be a bit stronger than Bissouma.
Mm-hmm.
You maybe look at someone who's going to score you more goals than Solanke. That's the 3 areas I would think that we need to strengthen. And possibly a new right back. Not to replace Porro, but to be Porro's understudy.
Well, isn't that Jed Spence?
It is, but Jed can also play on the left to be
Mm-hmm.
under a doggy, and I think them two pushing for a starting place fights them, pushes
Yeah,
them harder to become better players. So
I
I
think
would
it
look
makes
at maybe
Udoji better. I think it
yeah,
makes Udoji better.
um, and so I think maybe a backup for Porro. Um, if Ben Davis goes, another centre back, um, a left winger, and a striker. And now I do know we've been linked with Dusan Vlahovic.
Mm-hmm.
Juventus are desperate to sell because they need the money to sign
Ulamani.
Randall
Ulam-
Colomwani. I'm hearing around about 30 million euros, which is about 25 million pound, would be enough to get it done.
I'm not a big Vlahovic fan, but that being said, I wouldn't necessarily dislike him in a Spurs uniform. I just don't necessarily think that he.
Yeah,
I think there's a huge discrepancy between Serie A and the Premier League. That's all I'm saying.
no, I agree. And some top quality, what you would class top quality Serie A players have come to the Premier League and have completely and utterly flopped.
Right.
It's a hard league to come to, coming from European football to the Premier League. It is hard.
Mm.
Excuse me,
Well,
sorry.
yeah,
But
you're good. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Leave is never going to pay 100 million to get Gyökeres. We're not
Yeah.
getting Gyökeres. I'd love to have Gyökeres, but we're not getting Gyökeres. So then
Yeah.
you look at who the thing is, and also with it being Paratici, he's got good, strong links to Juventus and the Italian leagues. We look at who he's brought in in his past windows, and they have been quality Italian players: Vicario, Kulusevski, Udogie.
Sure.
We that's just three off the top of my head because they're in the starting 11 week in, week out. So you look at Vlahovic, and he might know more than what we do, and he's had a bit of a bad season this season, and he might be looking at someone like Spurs coming in. He still gets to play in Champions League, and he has the ability to then play in the best league, which might drive him to be. And he's still only young; he's only 26.
Yeah.
So
I
he's
look
still
at
got
this
time
as
to develop.
I tend to agree with you, and I look at the positions on the field, and I just say like where is this where is this an obvious, and I always look across the entire front three. I think it's important to have a new face of the club, because Sonny, I would probably assume that next year is going to be it for Sonny, and whether or not he's even going to be a starter next year is still up in the air. And I think that this
Yeah,
club could obviously use a new face at the club, whether that's on the left side or the right side. I look at the depth on the right side and I ask myself whether or not that's necessarily a position of need. But that being said, you can always improve on that, because who knows if Matisse Tell is even going to be back next season, right? And so that leaves you with,
yeah,
and that's going to leave you with what, Odebear, Mikey Moore, Yang Min Huck, and Sonny. And it's like, okay, well, two of those guys are probably going to go out on loan next year,
yeah.
right? So you would,
Probably Yang Min Suk, and you
and I would
probably
send
say
Mikey,
Mikey Moore.
and I
Mikey
would send
Moore
Mikey Moore
might
out
get
on
out
loan.
alone because he's going to be old enough to be loaned out now. So
Correct. And I think that him sitting for the majority of the season is going to disrupt his development. And that dude needs first team needs first team minutes. So I look at this as striker, left wing, and then I also think I think they do need to bring in competition for Brennan Johnson on the right side. I really do believe that. I've been saying it all season. I think that his development has plateaued a little bit. I don't necessarily think he's a bad player. I think he's actually a good prospect. But that being said, he needs somebody that's going to be able to push him in training to reach
yeah,
those upper levels. If there's an ability to get in a good 10, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I think that our position of need is more at the 6 than it is at the 10. If you're gonna continue to roll with James Madison and Kulusevski, I'm fine with that. But then it's left center back, left back, right back, and you have to do whatever you can to make sure that Betancourt and Romero stay for one more season. Like if you have to risk them leaving on a free, do what you got to do.
Well, we're good on contracts on both of them. I think that apart from Benny's contract runs out next year. Romero is
still 2 years out, I believe.
2027, or maybe 2028, and who's 2027? Someone asked me this, and I looked it up, and Bentancur is 2026.
I think that would be 2027, right? Because this upcoming year is 25, 26, and the year after is 26, 27. That's 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's got 2 more years left. But
I think it was Decky. I think someone said, what Decky's contract was? And I said he was good till 2028.
Yeah, and I think he's got 3 more years. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that being said, our audio artisan says, he wouldn't mind seeing Donnelly back for rotation at the 10. That's an interesting one because I'm of the opinion that if it is to believe that this is going to be a situation where we have to sell before we have to buy, that's why you have the academy for that exact reason, right?
Yeah,
it's the ability.
absolutely.
It's the ability to pad your transfer sheet. So, what do I mean by that? Well, it's like guys that young kids that don't necessarily have a firm path through the first team, or in positions that already have depth. But that being said, a guy like Josh Keeley, a guy like Jamie Donnelly, Will Lankshire, if you can get 15, 20 million for each of those players, move those players. You move those players because you're going to have the next crop of academy products that are going to be coming through the pipeline, right? So you're going to be able to replenish that, get graduate players from the academy, get them out on loan for a year, and showcase them in Europe. Showcase them in England, and then turn around and move them. Like that's what good teams do. Good teams will use that as a vehicle to make sure that their transfer budget still stays in a position where they can add in outside talent.
Yeah, and the truly great ones like your Mikey Moores.
Yeah.
I always think we missed one. We let one go way too soon in Marcus Edwards. I think he turned into a quality player, and we let him go to Sporting. And it was, I always regretted when I saw them, it'd gone to Sporting. I was like, that's a mistake. That was a mistake. And he went from strength to strength at Sporting because he was given the game time, something that he wasn't given at Spurs.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so, yeah.
Well, we are James. You and I are almost done with this last little recap. Are there any last words you want to talk about tonight? The season in general. What?
I think it's been one hell of a season. I think next season is going to be. I'm not going to say the polar opposite because the polar opposite would be us being in the top 4 and not winning another trophy. So I'm going to say there's going to be some more of the same. Maybe another trophy. UEFA Super Cup would be nice to get started. And then I'd like to really see us maybe push for an FA Cup or a League Cup again. And I would actually take a mid-table finish next year if we could do that.
Yeah. It wouldn't be something if we can finish in the top 10 and do a domestic double, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a super cup, League Cup, Super Cup, FA Cup, or even FA Cup, Champions League type of situation, or maybe even League Cup, FA Cup next year.
Yes, something like that.
A nice little cheeky double.
It'd be lovely. And I agree, Audio Art is on his Lancashire's value just went up. He is a European winner now. That's interesting. That is an interesting one as well. Ruben Amorim offers to quit as Manchester United boss after Europa League final defeat. Just quickly, Steve, do you think we'll accept his resignation?
Is he so he offered to quit? So does he want to quit, or is he just doing the right thing where he just wants validation from his bosses? No, you're good.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is, really.
It was a case of it was a case of it was in the Metro that he feels he's not the man to lead United forward. That's what that article was about.
Interesting. Because what's funny is I wonder if he got the bait and switch from Manchester United, right? So he was probably sold a Lamborghini, but when he got there, he got the Pinto. And he's got a team that he's got a team that doesn't fit his style of football, and it's not going to be one summer transfer window to change everything, right? This is like a 2 or 3 summer transfer window type of gig. But in the meantime, if they continue to underperform, it's going to ruin his reputation in Europe. So, You know what I mean? So that being said, would this be the time for Ruben Amorim to say, you know what? Thank you, but no. I'd rather go back to Portugal and win the Portuguese championships and do well in the Premier League or the Europa League and rebuild back my credit because Manchester United has absolutely ruined me.
I think that's a good shout. I think it's a very good shout.
I think that's a very good shout, and that would leave Manchester United in a horrible position. But that being said, man, that's going to do it for us. I know, James, Derma, it's incredibly late over there in the UK, and I know that all 3 of us have work tomorrow. So just a quick note, always remember to hit your like and subscribe buttons, but also this weekend, there will not be the MLS live stream this weekend because I will be in Seattle on holiday, and the Saturday morning show is still yet to be determined. But Stateside Footy will be back the following Saturday as we do our season recap. The following Saturday, we have our year-end awards ceremony where we hand out all awards to Tottenham Hotspur, from least valuable player to the most valuable player, the worst injury of the season, those type of awards. We're going to hand them out to the Rookie of the Year, most valuable youngster, those type of things. So it's going to be a fun show, and I know that Dave Harris will be a part of that one from the Irish Hotspur as well too. And I'm sure, Derby, you're probably going to want to get up on that one to hand out some awards.
Yeah,
so it's going to be an absolutely fantastic show. But of course, next week the MLS live stream will be back, and we have a lot of good stuff going on. Tomorrow night, I'm going to jump on because the U.S. men's national team will drop their Gold Cup roster, so we have to talk about that. And I know that Christian Pulisic will not be a part of the Gold Cup this summer because citing the fact that he's played way too many games in these last 2 years. He wants to actually have a summer where he can actually just decompress. So Christian Pulisic will not be a part of this summer's Gold Cup. So that's going to be interesting. We will talk about it tomorrow night. And that will be the last show on Stateside Footy for at least a week. So I want to thank James. Thank you for coming in. Looks like you're about ready to fall asleep.
Derma? No, I'm good.
Derma, thanks for jumping on at the very end. And
I'm buzzing. I can't switch off. I'm just literally buzzing. I still can't believe it's happened. I don't believe it's happened. I think I'm going to wake up in a minute and believe it was a terrible dream. But
nope, it happened.
I can't. But I can't describe how I feel. It's a weird one. It's a weird feeling.
Well, to be fair, you did call it. You said it was written in the stars, and the stars have aligned, and we're European champions.
Yeah, I can't, and also I can't believe we're in the Super Cup. That's going to be fun. That watch along where we're going to do the Champions League one. That's weird now. We're actually looking at a team we're going to play in the Super Cup. So.
It's going to be excellent. It's going to be absolutely excellent.
You're making that up. That didn't happen, James. That didn't happen. You're making it up, man.
Absolutely happened. Well, that's going to do it. that's going to do it for us. It's just been an unbelievable afternoon today, and I would be remiss to say that you know what, I didn't necessarily think I would ever see this happen when it comes to European trophies, but sure as shit, it definitely happened today. And I hope this trend continues, and I hope this kicks off Tottenham Hotspur in the direction where we feel like they should be. So I'm sure there's Derma, quickly before we go, what's happening with THFC TWD moving forward this upcoming week?
I got a show tomorrow night to go over the game. Tomorrow there will be also player ratings. I'm going to need you guys to send me over your player ratings for tomorrow night. For tomorrow, so I'm going to do that pre-record. I watched a bit of Goldbridge tonight just to see how he responded. So a little bit in there I'm going to take from that and talk about that. Friday will be the pre-match for the Bournemouth game and a little look back as well with the season. Saturday, I think we're doing your tactics show, James, for the Bournemouth game, for the Brighton game. Thank you. I don't care. That game can be postponed now for all I care. Win, lose or draw, I don't give a shit. Then on Sunday we've got the before the whistle, watch along, and final score. And then on Monday we have review or Monday or Tuesday we've got review of the season. And then from Thursday, because I'm having Wednesday and Thursday off, from Friday, Newsbeat returns. Summer Newsbeat returns when we go over all the news. We've got transfer shows coming up. We'll have we've got a few shows coming up, and also then I suppose what we're doing on here as well, and then there'll be a lot of watch-alongs as well during the summer as well with the Club World Cup, with pre-season, and when news breaks with the fixtures and all transfer news here at First and Fastest here on THFC Till We Die. And
excellent.
What's James doing now? What are you doing now?
Nah, he's still showing you. And by the way,
I can make it put fireworks on.
And now I believe it. It's happened.
I just want to give a quick shout out to my Irish homie right there, Dave Harris, in the chat tonight. What's up, Dave, man? I hope you're absolutely beaming, man. I'm actually really happy for you and your dad. You get to share the European trophy tonight, and I know that you've waited a long time for this one, my guy. So I'm really, really happy for you as well too. So that's going to do it for us. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. James, as always, it was fun. Derma, I'm so glad that you got to enjoy your day today, man. If you can sleep, get some sleep, but chances are pretty good, man. That's going to be a tomorrow thing, not a tonight thing. So for all of us here at Stateside Footy, I just want to say congratulations to the entire Tottenham Hotspur Nation tonight. This was absolutely just a dream come true. You guys have a great night. Take care.
Cheers.